Will the Toyota Stout kill Ford Maverick sales, and maybe even just kill it, affect its sales so bad that the Ford Maverick disappears because Toyota comes out with the Toyota Stout and it's so much less expensive and so much more reliable. Of course, it's a Toyota. It will never, ever break. It won't have any recalls, and it'll be perfect from day one all the way to the very end. Just like every single Toyota Tundra and Toyota Tacoma ever built has always been perfect. I'm joking, folks. I'm going with sort of that almost, religious fervor being directed at a product. It's almost idolizing the Toyota brand. Some people do idolize the Toyota brand. They're very good. They have a lot of pros, but like everything, nothing's perfect, and they also have their cons. So if you're watching this as a live, you just finished hearing about how Toyota keeps the scandals going, and their fervent Toyota religion buyers just keep buying, and they stay number one in the world despite decades, now you could say over a decade, of wrongdoing, of putting people in very dangerous situations, accelerator pedals that stick that they want to deny, airbags that don't go off that they deliberately cheat the tests to avoid. But the Toyota Stout, nonetheless, probably overall will be pretty darn good. So let's actually talk about the good and the bad. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I think I already talked about the ugly to what we could see with the Toyota Stout, but I'll add a little bit more. New products, no matter who makes them, there is an increased chance that Toyota will make a new product and it will be near perfect, very good. But they could also get it wrong. So let's not just automatically think it's going to be pure perfection. There are years of Toyota Tundras where you could have your vehicle completely scrapped because the frame was of poor quality and it could rust out, bend, and just get destroyed. Sort of like certain Dodge Rams, if you put too much weight in the box, you could destroy the frame. I've seen two in 2023 as trade-ins. And I mean, we must have evaluated maybe 100 Ram 1500s, and two of them had frames that were damaged and needed new frames. And we're not talking about 20-year-old vehicles. We're talking about 3 to 6-year-old vehicles. Not great. Now the Toyota Stout likely will be very good. We'll talk about what we'll likely see as an engine out of it. TFL, I think these guys are absolutely fantastic. I think they are in the top 3 best automobile journalists on the market, and I certainly find them both very informative and extremely entertaining. So let's cover some of the points they talk about. I'm also an insider, but more on for the automobile world, but really more focused and getting inside information in regard to Ford. But I can see how, Ford and Toyota have worked together in the past before. I've been following the industry for years, so we'll talk about powertrains. We'll talk about a little bit about pricing and whether I think this will actually kill the Ford Maverick. So the Toyota Stout, probably very much like the Toyota Tacoma, which even in its certain new generations have had issues. It's had issues with originally with when it first came out with its most recent 6-cylinder engine, which is no longer part of the lineup now for the new 2024 model. But there are issues. There are a few issues with transmissions as well. Even Toyota Corollas had a few transmission issues. But the Toyota Stout, you may or may not want to get the first models that come out, and probably production could start as early as 2025, according to TFL. And that would make sense because Toyota isn't the type to rush something. So I remember when the Ford Maverick had been revealed, and 3 months after it being revealed, the very first ones showed up on lots. And once 6 months had passed of Ford Mavericks showing up on lots, you had a lot of people saying, hey, I didn't instantly get my Ford Maverick. Well, I bet I can get a Toyota Stout sooner, because some YouTube channels were talking about, hey, wait for a Toyota Stout. It's going to be here soon. And I was saying it's not going to get here soon. And the main reason is Toyota's very responsible. They aim for reliability. They make mistakes like everyone, as we talked about in the last episode of this live. It's wrong when they try to cover it up, but initially they are very, very focused on reliability, and overall their reliability is very good. They're not going to turn around and make a truck in the, over the course of 1 year or 6 months. And there's going to be a big demand for these. You're going to have to, from reveal day, if you want a Toyota Stout, you're going to have to put a deposit on one at the reveal. They're not going to be in inventory for a while because the Toyota Stout is going to be in extremely high demand, meaning for early adopters are going to get their hands on these, resellers are going to get their hands on these, because yes, it likely will be an affordable truck, and there's a good sales case for this because Ford and Hyundai have been making money with their small trucks, the Santa Cruz and the Ford Maverick. And actually, we can read right here, the Ford Maverick and Hyundai Santa Cruz continue to grow. Their combined sales increased by 17.9% in 2023 over 2022. And Ford Maverick sales were only hampered by the lack of Ford Mavericks. I can tell you, I'm an insider. I've seen the demand for these. Had we had more hybrids on the lot, Ford could have sold 300,000. Instead, they sold about 105,000 in 2023, but I believe they could have easily have sold 3 times as much without having very much buildup of inventory like we've seen for the Ford F-150 Lightning and Ford Mach-E, both of which are actually starting to come down in inventory. They've had extremely high inventory. Dealers have been very tired of paying a lot of interest on these vehicles that haven't been selling as fast as they would like, but they're now really starting to move extremely well because of major price cuts. But speaking of price, Toyota Stout will likely have a price. I'd say one of two things will happen. It's either going to come in with very similar stats to a Ford Maverick and be right in the ballpark of a Ford Maverick, maybe only maybe $1,000 to $3,000 more, and offer essentially the same size box. If it comes with a bigger box, it's going to actually compete more so with sort of in between the Honda Ridgeline and the Ford Maverick. So we all know the Honda Ridgeline is $10,000 more than a Ford Maverick. Could very well see this coming in being right in between the pricing of the two, maybe as much as a Honda Ridgeline, but then they're getting awfully close to their Toyota Tacoma pricing. Now, it will likely have a 4-cylinder hybrid as its only available option, powertrain, just the same in the same manner that the new Tacoma uses the hot 4-cylinder hybrid off the Lexus SUV. But it won't be the 4-cylinder. It'll be a less powerful 4-cylinder. They're not going to want to kill they're not going to want to lose sales from the Tacoma. The Tacoma, they sell about 200,000 of them per year, and there's no way Toyota is going. That's bread and butter right there at Toyota. They are the leader, the big boss when it comes to mid-size trucks. They're not going to want to kill their mid-size truck sales. It makes them a good amount of money. So this thing needs to be smaller than the Tacoma. And for Toyota's sake, probably either the same size as the Ford Maverick or size-wise in between the Honda Ridgeline and in between the Ford Maverick. And even motor-wise, it'll be very similar as the Ford Maverick. It will not be a 6-cylinder, so don't wait for a Toyota Stout expecting a 4-cylinder. That's going to be a 6-cylinder. It's going to be a 4-cylinder. It's going to be a hybrid. It could come, I think it's going to be a traditional hybrid. It could come in as a plug-in. That would surprise me, maybe later on, Gen 2 or as a refresh. And TFL is saying it could even come in as an electric vehicle. If it does, expect about $39,000. I'd say TFL, with everything that's going on with electric vehicle prices being so up and down and wonky these days, I'm not willing to talk price if it's electrical. But if it is gas powered, do expect it to be priced in between the Ford Maverick and the Honda Ridgeline, or as expensive as the Honda Ridgeline. But like I said, they don't want to take sales away from their Tacoma. It's their bread and butter. It makes them a ton of money. It's very profitable. Now, TFL is saying that they're even saying it's hard to talk about electric pricing when Toyota's working on a solid state battery. All the benefits that could come with a solid state battery, meaning they could probably get more money out of customers, but a lot of the early adopters who are willing to pay a lot of money to have an electric vehicle, those early adopters already have their electric vehicle. But maybe by the time the Stout comes out, TFL talks about 2025 for production. Well, it's March 2024. We're going to need to see this vehicle get revealed between now and I'd say August, the latest, if we're going to see production in early 2025. If they talk and reveal this Toyota Stout in, let's say, November 2024, well, you could expect late spring, early summer, May to July for production to start. I'd say they might at this point. I'd say there's 50-50 chance they announce the Toyota Stout in 2025 for 2026 production. I agree with TFL. It's going to be a 4-cylinder or maybe all electric, but that would surprise me out of Toyota based on what they've been saying about electric vehicles. They don't feel that's the only future, and they do feel hybrid is a better solution. TFL talks about a price point as low, if it's a 4-cylinder hybrid, as low as $29,995. Of course, that's before transport and handling, so let's just say low 30s. Very interesting stuff. Will the Toyota Stout, when it comes out, nothing's official yet, so I'll say if it comes out, will it kill Ford Maverick sales? No, not at all. Will it take away some Ford Maverick sales? Yes, absolutely, because a lot of Ford Maverick buyers traded in their Toyota to have their Ford Maverick. In the comment section, please, if you're one of these people, don't be shy. Let us know. Drop a comment. What did you change? If you have a Ford Maverick, what manufacturer, what brand did you walk away from? Yeah, you parked it at the dealership, you walked away from it and took ownership of your new Ford Maverick. What vehicle was it? Because if you came from the Toyota brand, there's very good chances you're going to go back to the Toyota brand. And remember, a good portion of Ford Maverick sales, slightly above 60% of Toyota Maverick sales, are people coming from another brand. It's not necessarily their first Ford ever, but their last vehicle was not a Ford. So you could see people going back if Honda, for example, uses the Honda CR-V platform. Likely this will be a Toyota RAV4 platform turned into a truck. So we're probably talking about that would be cost effective. So we're almost certainly talking about a 4.5 foot, max 5 foot box coming out of this. It's going to be very similar or slightly different than the Ford Maverick, but a lot of people could go back to Toyota. Sometimes people who previously owned a Mazda, a Subaru, or a Honda feel more comfortable if they've had, their last 3-4 vehicles were a Mazda, Subaru, Toyota, or Honda. There's more chances they're going to go back to the Japanese brand. So yes, Ford will sell less Ford Mavericks because of this, but not less than what they're selling now. In 2023, they sold a little over 105,000, and I can promise you they could have easily sold double that number if the extra units, the extra 105,000 units were all hybrids. People love the Ford Maverick hybrid because of its price and because of its fuel economy and because of its utility. So please, both Toyota and Ford, take a lesson from what's currently going down with the Ford Maverick and continue to offer us affordable trucks. This is what the US market wants. This is what we need. We've got projects to get done, and we don't have a ton of money to spend. We don't want to spend a house mortgage payment on a truck. My Ford F-150 Lightning, for example, and this is why Ford F-150 Lightnings, if they're a Lariat or a Platinum, now that the early adopters have taken possession of their Lightnings, this is why they sit around on lots longer. But of course, Ford, pretty smart. They've lowered interest rates. They've lowered prices, and this is actually getting Lightnings to start to move decently, and the pace in which Ford Mustang Mach-E's have sold since they decreased the price here in Canada by $5,000. Lightning decreased by more than that in the States on certain models. The sales have been incredible. We had, let's say we have roughly a dealership with 300 units of new, while we have more units of new than we have probably ever had. A little over 100 of those units were Mach-E's. And within a 3-week to max 30-day period, they're going to be gone. Maybe there'll be, 2 or 3 sitting around, but within a week and a half, about 40 got sold of the 106. So I'm thinking we're roughly at about 3, maybe max 5, max 6 weeks to sell what seemed like an impossible amount of Mustang Mach-E's to sell. So if the model mildly interests you, please go out and test one out now. Toyota Stout, we're not going to be able to test it for quite a while. You're going to want to pre-order one of these. Then when it comes in, make sure your deposit's reimbursable. Get them to sign that you can get your deposit reimbursed if you don't like how it drives once your model comes in. But order a Toyota Stout real early. Don't put more than a $500 deposit on it in case the dealership does play dirty and doesn't want to give you back your deposit. And then test drive the vehicle when it comes in, because it's going to be sold out for a good amount of time, especially considering Toyota production starts out very slow because they want to get it right as possible, and slowly they increase production. It's part of their secret sauce to reliability. So that's all the Toyota Stout information I can give you right now. I can tell you, look at the Toyota RAV4. If you like the Toyota RAV4, how it drives, its acceleration, its engine choice, go drive a hybrid Toyota RAV4. And if you like it, get ready to put a deposit on one of these. If you don't like it, well, guess what? The new Toyota Stout is going to drive in a very similar manner to the RAV4. It's going to have a unibody frame underneath. Sorry, it's not a frame. It's a unibody coquille, I guess, in French. Platform. There we go. There's that English word. It's going to have the Toyota RAV4's platform, meaning it's going to be unibody. It's going to drive like an SUV. A lot like how the the Ford Maverick, before anyone could test drive them, I said, go out and test drive a Ford Escape. It's the same platform. And if you want to test drive the 2-liter turbo, go drive a Lincoln Corsair. And I love the acceleration on the Lincoln Corsair. And I said, your Ford Maverick is going to drive like that Lincoln Corsair, less comfortable. So test the motor, take 2 test drives. For power, test drive the Lincoln Corsair, and for suspension, test drive the Ford Escape or Bronco Sport, and boy, was I right. Very similar suspensions. So that covers our Toyota Stout talk. Thank you so much, folks, for sticking through with that episode. Help this small family business out with a thumbs up, subscribe, and do hit the bell notification so you don't miss out, because here we cover the real deal in depth, to make sure none of you, we bust a lot of BS because we want to help you guys out. We don't want you waiting for something that's never going to exist or not exist how the market or, the YouTube videos are describing it. We just don't want anyone getting fooled. We've been fooled in the past, and we don't want anyone getting fooled. Now that we're insiders, we're not going to let anyone here get ripped off. Thank you to the members to help financially support us as we help financially support our viewers by covering the real deal. Now, let's cover into episode 4. We're at the